am the Special Collections Librarian here at the Alpena County Library, and the Special Collections include the Alpena History Room, the Michigan Genealogy Room, Michigan/Genealogy Room, and the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary collection. So it's an archives, really, along with a book collection. And when you look at your family documents, it's your archives. So that's what I do in my job, and I'm going to kind of give you some pointers on how to take care of your collections at home. And hopefully, by the end, you'll learn some simple techniques in safekeeping and preserving your family documents, letters, photographs, some textiles, and some books. And learn what archival quality means in regards to the products used to protect your treasured items and where to find them. And you do have an archival catalog that I use basically exclusively for work here and at home. I have a book repair business at home, and this is the company I use. But there is a list in the back, the last page of your handout, that has other companies. This is another excellent one. This is University Products, and they have a little bit more than Gaylord, but they're a little more expensive too. But it's your choice on how you want to do that. They offer very similar products and the same brand names a lot in those two. And this is from the Clark Historical Library, and they have a really nice information on their website, and that's where I pulled this from. Basically the same thing I'm discussing tonight that you can take home and refresh your memory on things. My background, where did I learn archival type skills and preserving items? I went to East Carolina University for a maritime history degree, actually, and that's one of the reasons why I work in the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary collection. But I worked in the preservation and conservation department there, which preserved the books and took care of them. So I learned from some excellent tutors and guides, and I do this here at the library, and I do it at home as well. So, you have handouts and you have your catalogs. There are more over there if you want to take some more later. And I'm hoping everybody entered to win the archival box, and if not, we can get you at the end there. I have a display here. Well, not really a display, but it has a mixture of the good and bad here. Some good things. These are inert plastic sleeves. They're polyethylene. They're archivally safe. They have no acid in them. We use these a lot in our collection to house postcards, photographs. We can use the acid-free version of the 3-ring binder ones. You can get non-acid-free, but you really have to watch if you're getting acid-free or not. I'm not sure if you go to Staples, you'd have to read what it says on their box if they're acid-free or not. And we use these for letters and larger photographs. Tape. Basically, do not use tape. If you can at all cannot use tape, don't. But when we have to, we use this Filmoplast tape. It's a very thin, acid-free tape, but it still sticks. Once it's there, and then it's not going to come off. But you're not going to have the yellowing like you do with normal Scotch tape. And some of the Scotch tape is okay. Again, you'd have to read on there whether it is or not. Everything you want to have contact with your items need to be acid-free in some sort of way. Do not skimp on your preservation products, because it's not going to do its job if you do. This little pencil is a photograph marking pencil. It's a waxy pencil. Do not use ink on the backs of your photographs. That's a no-no. For one, usually you have to press too hard, and you can see the writing right through to the other side. Ink has acid in it. It migrates. So this is a very soft, waxy pencil, and it's acid-free. And you can also use like a number 2 pencil as long as it's soft. Again, don't press too hard, or you're going to see your letters right on through. And I'll show you another idea for marking photographs that I have done for myself. This little item, and I can pass this around, and you guys can kind of test it out with what you have. This is a pH testing pen. It tells you whether something has acid in it or not. And if you can just mark a little tiny place somewhere to see if it is. Like most Most copy paper nowadays that you just buy at Walmart, Staples, whatever, is acid-free. When it's purple, it's acid-free. They're not that expensive, and they are in the catalogs, so it's worth it. These little, you have these folders. Okay, can you guys tell me which one's acid and which one's acid-free? You have any idea? Which one's acid-free and which one has acid in it? Purple is acid-free, yellow is acid. So you need to really watch your products, because if you stick, your family heirloom letter in this, it's going to just cause deterioration. If you stick it in this, it's going to preserve it for a lot longer. And you can test other things too. We're going to get to tissue paper for textiles. And I had Mary Kloop pull this out for me, and I had to test it because I didn't know. And it is acid-free. I was surprised. So you really should get one of these pens, especially if you're going to be, because you really never know with copy paper. You really want to make sure that it is, because I will show you why, and there are the caps right there. Okay, gloves, when you're using photographs, when you're doing your photographs, fingerprints so easily, even on the edges. If you've got a border, okay, but if you don't, your fingerprints are going to be on it like that. So use cotton gloves or some sort of glove when you're doing that, and you can get these for cheapo stack of them for, yes? Check online for that. You may be able to gently buff it out, but that might scratch the image as well. Pretty much once it's on there, it's on there. So you really need to take care of that. If you have something falling apart, don't tape it. Don't tape it. If your leaves are coming off or your covers are coming off and you don't want to get it repaired, find some of these cotton strings and tie them together, or you can also purchase boxes that fit to specific size books. Don't try to tape your book up. Just not a good thing. This is what we are finding in our collection. These are obviously paper clips and other fasteners. These are a no-no. You don't want these in your stuff. I don't care if it says it's a stainless steel paper clip. Get rid of it. If it's a staple, get rid of it. If it's a pin, get rid of it. You don't want it. We're kind of keeping our little collection, and we're going to frame this after a while because it's really cool looking when you put it all like this. But you really don't want those things in there. Acid-free boxes. These boxes here are acid-free, and I'll show you what's inside those in a little bit. Do not laminate. If you have a favorite letter or you have a certificate of some sort, don't laminate it. Especially if your item is acidic, it's just going to make it worse inside. It's going to yellow faster. If you want to seal it, you can put it in something like this, or you can do what they call encapsulation. And what it is, it's these inert plastic sleeves, and they take a double stick tape along the edges, make sure they're clear of the document along the edges, and you can seal the document in that way. So then that way it's not sealed on the document itself. But usually if you just stick it in something like this, and then you can really actually maneuver it quite a bit, even if it's relatively fragile. So yes?
If you put that in acid-free and then put it in something that does have acid in it, another sleeve, is that wrong?
If you put it in this will protect it. If you end up putting it in an acid folder, this sleeve will protect that image. Okay, but the thing is, this will stop it. But say if you decide you're going to use your acid-free paper to put things through, like this here, as easily you can tell, it's acidic. Eventually, this paper will become acidic. The acid migrates. So after 3-5 years, go in and change your papers, put new ones in, and we'll get to that a little bit more. No natural wood for shelving. Wood is very acidic. Obviously, paper pulp, you know, what your papers are made of or what the past papers were made of, very acidic. So if your wood is very, very well sealed, okay. Metal shelving, fine. But if you have a natural wood shelving unit and you're laying your books on there or your photographs on there, the acid is going to pull from your shelving into that. So watch that. Or if you have a cabinet that you're storing everything in. Again, no inks. There are acid-free ink pens. I did not bring one with me. For like when you're marking CDs, don't use a regular marker on your CDs because that's acid and it'll eventually etch into your CD. Use an acid-free marker to mark on your CDs, or just do the little plastic ring inside your CD. But yeah, the acid will eventually migrate into your CD and you're going to lose your information. So. Any questions up to this point? Okay, storage conditions. Where do you want to store your items? What's the temperature I need? What's the humidity I need? Do not store in a garage. Do not store in an attic. Do not store in a basement unless it's environmentally controlled. Store away from a water source. If you have plumbing right here, you don't want your family documents right here. Been there, done that. You want your environment consistent, say 69 to 72 degrees throughout the year. You don't want freezing cold in the winter and you don't want really hot in the summer. Your humidity temperature or your humidity level should be like 30% to 50%. You don't want it really low or really high because again, you're going to damage your items and it's just going to cause further deterioration if you have this constant fluctuation. So again, 68 to 72 degrees and 30 to 50% humidity. A good place, your bedroom closet. You know, a closet you have in the house. It's you know, cooler, it's dark. Usually no moisture around there unless it's next to the bathroom plumbing, then don't do that. No direct sunlight unless you have some sort of UV protection in front of it. Like if you have something framed, make sure the glass is a UV protectant, and a lot of framers do that nowadays. You ask them and they say, okay, I will do that for you, but you have to ask specifically or they won't. No fluorescent lighting directly on your items. So fluorescent lighting is just as bad as the natural daylight. So we have to be very careful how we store our photographs, our paintings, that sort of thing. Okay. So photographs. I've already talked about using the cotton gloves, no fingerprints. When IDing the photographs, use the blue pencil or a soft leaded pencil. What I did here, this is something I've done for my mother, and this is just a little, she handed me a bunch of old photographs. So I can pass this around, you kind of can flip through it. But I've actually inserted acid-free paper between the photographs, and I identified the photographs with pencil above it, so you don't have to pull the photograph out the sleeve. And you will also see that it's not just a normal 3-ring binder sleeve. It's actually divided for various size photographs, which is very, very nice. Instead of using like your sticky albums, don't ever, I don't even know if they sell them anymore, but if they do, don't ever use them. And again, your photo albums, you really have to watch to make sure. A lot of the scrapbooking stuff now is acid-free. If you've done your scrapbooking, then most of those products are acid-free. The paper's acid-free and the plastic's acid-free, but double check. Do not glue your photographs down. Use the acid-free little corners that they have. A lot of glues are acid-free, but you still don't want to have that sticky back on them because if you want to remove them from that environment at some point, then it's really hard to do. You know the scrapbooks, the old scrapbooks, how those are so hard to get apart. Again, for framing, use only acid-free materials. This is one, like this is a certificate, oh, this is a diploma. And honestly, we haven't gotten to the point here of taking care of this. We have no idea if this is matting is acid-free, probably not. And as you can tell by the backing, and there's probably a wood or a cardboard backing to that, which is all acidic. It all needs to be stripped down. You can still use the same frame if you want to, even if the glass too, if it's not going to be in direct sunlight or under the UV. But make sure all your matting, whatever comes in contact with the document, make sure it's acid-free. It could get expensive if you want to do that, but it's going to preserve it for hundreds of years. So. Okay, rolled photographs. Yes, Barb?
Did these papers behind the pictures come with it, or did you have?
I just cut pieces and put them in there. Yeah, I just took my paper and just did that. The panoramic views, these old ones, you guys probably have some of these in your collections. What do you do with them? Yeah. You can't sit there and just, you know how I got this one undone? It took a long time, but I just took these clips and I started out, see they taped it because it's already splitting. I just took these clips and just let it relax. I just did a little bit, I let it hang, I let that relax, and once that relaxed, I put some more clips in and let that relax, because this was just as tight as this one. So just let it relax, just let it take its time if you want to undo it and get it framed. If you want to keep it rolled up, it's not doing much good rolled up. I don't even know what this is because it's all rolled up.
How about how long will it take? Just
I don't know how long I've had this. It took a while, a good couple months at least. I've had this now like this for about a year or so, and it's finally totally relaxed. Because you have to be really careful, because as you see, there's a lot of cracking in here because it's stiff. So, but that is probably your best way of doing it. Just let it take its time instead of forcing it. But it really did a rather good job. So maybe someday we'll get that framed. If not, we can sleeve it up. We can purchase larger sleeves. We can lay our acid-free paper in and store it flat. So. Your Polaroid films, your Polaroid pictures. Do you guys have Polaroid pictures? You know how bad they are. Yeah. Scan them. Scan them. Scan them before they're probably pretty faded now as it is. Scan them, throw them away. Scan them, make a nice print of them. There's nothing you can do with them. As you're going through there too, you'll see there's family letters in there and envelopes. Take the letters out of the envelopes. Usually all this stuff is acidic. Gently unfold your letter. A lot of times it's going to tear. That's when you want to sleeve it. If you have to tape it, again, use the acid-free tape. But try not to if you don't need to. Once you get in the sleeve, it's usually pretty safe from further damage. So if you've got several pages to a letter, just place your paper between each page. Again, that's going to stop your migration of acid, and it's going to stop, say, your ink from going on to the next page. It's not going to stop the ink going on its own page, but it'll stop the ink going on to the next page. So stick a piece of clean white paper, don't use a color paper, between each page and between the envelope, and put it in an acid-free file folder, and then it's going to keep it safe. Or stick it in an acid-free sleeve each page, and so you can read both sides if you want to, and put it in a nice 3-ring binder. So, and you can use a normal, because these are acid-free, so you can use any old 3-ring binder if you want to. I do at home, so. Yeah, because once you use these acid-free sleeves, it's safe. Yeah, it's not gonna go through. And a lot of them have the sleeves now where you can label. You can slip in a piece of paper how you label it. Talked about a little bit about the old scrapbooks. If you can remove the items in that, if that's what you want to do, do it. If you can't, which a lot of times you can't, again, just this stuff is well worth the $2.50 that it takes to buy a ream of it. Just stick the white paper between each page. Just make sure that it doesn't get too large where you're forcing the spine. You don't want to force the spine. I don't have any ideas of what to do beyond that, but at least help it a little bit. If it's getting too much, again, use your white cotton ties to tie it together. But if you can, get it apart and then sleeve it or redo it as a new scrapbook, do that. Some of that stuff you just can't. So, any questions to now? Okay. Newspapers. Everybody wants to keep a newspaper. Don't. These are just made to be tossed. Unless you have an extremely rare newspaper like the Thunder Bay Monitor, then by all means, keep that and bring it in so we can scan it. But most newspapers now are on microfilm, even ours are on microfilm back to 1871. If you have an article in there, or if you have just a clipping, make a copy of it. Again, this is acid-free. Make a copy of it. Write down which newspaper it is. Write down the date of it. Even if you want to come in and copy it from our microfilm now, it's copy on an acid-free paper. If you have to keep the newspaper, open it up, lay it flat, put your paper, and you can get the larger size paper, the 11 by 17 if you want to. Stick it between each page, and then it'll help. It really will. It'll stop the migration between each page, because you see what happens when you have migration going. You know, the acid is going on to other pages, and it's causing the yellowing and the browning and the disintegration. So you want to stop that as much as you can if you want to keep it. But I just say make a copy of it and throw it away. I had Bob pull me out a fastener thing, and this is a bunch of receipts put together by a safety pin, and I'll help show you. We're going to do a little sample thing of how to remove the paper clips and the pins and the staples, so you guys will have a little hands-on experience with that. So that's why we have this wonderful collection. Okay, the certificates and diplomas, again, if you want to get them nicely framed, do that. Make sure there's no acid hitting the back front. Get them in the inert sleeves and store them flat. If you've got a nice flat, your top of your closet, there's usually a nice pretty big shelf. Store them flat in there. And you can get various sizes of boxes if you have a whole collection you want to do something with. The catalog has newspaper-sized boxes even in there that we have. Again, don't laminate. Diaries, books, cookbooks, Bibles. If they're like large ledgers, lay them flat again. If you have them sitting up, that's forcing the papers to just really pull down and get warped, and the book can get warped itself. Do not, if you've got your bookshelf, just do normal everyday books if you want to. Don't pull them off the shelf from right there. You see what happens. Kind of push the books back a little bit on either side and pull it out. And we should do this here at the library every day, but we don't. And pull it out from here, not right here. Pull it out from the book itself so you can pull it off the shelf, because obviously it gets damaged that way. Cookbooks, I know people love their cookbooks, and they've got food all over them, and that's kind of the reward, the treasure of having all the food marks on them. But try to keep your cookbooks clean, because that's just gonna, the insects like that stuff. So, and you don't want insects on any of your stuff. So, and you should check your items periodically to make sure the insects are not in there. Because even in your normal books that you have on the bookshelf, you can get insects in there because they like the glue. They'll eat the glue from the bindings. So like the diaries, again, if you want to, and if it's not going to hurt the spine at all, insert your paper between the pages. And you can cut these down to size if you want to, because a lot of times with diaries, your ink migrates to your other pages and you can't read what's going on. So try to stop that so 100 years from now someone else can read it. Again, do not tape your books. Yeah, don't do that. Textiles. I don't really have textiles here, but say your quilts, wedding dresses, christening outfits, baby shoes. Use your tissue. Stuff the little baby shoes with tissue. Make sure it's acid-free. If you're folding up your wedding dress, you know, if you got puffy sleeves, stick some tissue in to puff the sleeves up and the arm up. Fold it gently, and at the folds, tuck your tissue in so you're not getting a sharp fold on there. And buy these boxes. I have a huge box for my wedding dress and the kids' christening outfits, and I have it all, you know, nicely stored in there. I do have to check it periodically to make sure, you know, it's fairly deep, but the insects can still crawl up inside and get in there. So, you know, check and make sure there's no insects inside. With the quilts, you can get large cotton sheets, white cotton sheets, don't use a color, and you can roll the quilts up in a gentle roll. You can get the tubing, like Marcia had brought me in a tubing roll from carpet, and you can take that as long as the quilt is not, because that's acidic, so as long as the quilt's not touching the roll, make sure it's wrapped in tissue or paper or the sheet, and you can roll it up gently that way and store it that way. Or if you want to, you can hand sew in pocket rods on the back, and I did this at home, and just make sure it's not in direct sunlight or in the fluorescent lighting. Hang it. You know, you can gently sew rod pockets on, and it's double backed, so if you use a wood rod, it's safe because it's the other cloth that's getting the acid. And you can also vacuum your textiles. If you take your vacuum and you put, say, cheesecloth over the end of it, or a meshy something, and make sure it's attached really well, so you can gently vacuum your textiles or other items, you know, that you have, your little figurines or whatever. You can vacuum them that way to get dust off, to get insects out, cobwebs, that sort of thing. So. Musty smells, mildew, mold. You can air out outside, as long as it's not in the direct sunlight. That really takes care of it a lot. Or you can take, say, a sealed container with charcoal in the bottom of it, and place your item on top. You know, have something protecting your item that's not sitting directly on your charcoal. But the charcoal or cat litter absorbs the smell. Leave it in there for a couple weeks. Check on it periodically, see how it's doing. There are, I noticed in this catalog, I'm not sure in that catalog, but there is actually odor-absorbing stuff that you can stick your item right into, and you leave it in a concealed container for a few weeks, and it takes the odors out. A newspaper. I know it's acidic, but a newspaper, too, is said to absorb odors. So you can use that, too, as long as your item's protected. If it has mold or mildew on it, I know they say differently a lot of times, but once something has mold or mildew in it, those spores are there forever. The only way to stop it is to keep that humidity consistent and your temperature consistent. If the humidity gets high, your mold is going to reappear. So if you have mold or mildew, clean it. If you can use a damp cloth, use a damp cloth. If not, vacuum it. Gently wipe the mold or mildew off. Try to keep your item in as a controlled environment as possible to keep that from spreading again. So, okay. Again, acid migration. Acid constantly moves. So if you're using these papers, make sure you do use these papers, but change them every 3 to 5 years, because these are going to become acidic and your pH testing pen would show that. So, any questions? Yes?
I have an old tin violin from my great-grandfather, and it's in a wooden box that he made. Is there anything that I should do to, I don't know what to do to preserve it?
You could probably use like the white cotton linen or cloth and wrap it in and still keep it in that same box, because that would halt your.
But it's in a display right now.
Okay.
Would I then line the box with white cotton cloth to put it in? Would that?
What's the lining of the box now?
It's wood.
There's no lining at all in it. Yeah, if has the wood been sealed at all? Does it have a polyurethane, or even that's just, yeah, because that's,
It's old. I mean, it's
yeah,
years old.
yeah. So what does the item itself look like? Has it shown its?
Well, it looks like a tin violin made 100 years ago.
Yeah. And it's hard to say with tin versus a paper product, how much the tin is actually getting the acid from the wood. That might be something to search online. I'll try to remember to do a little hunting on that and see. But it might not have the effects as a paper product would, as a porous absorbing type product. So, but yeah, good question. Yes?
Military uniform, made of wool. What is the best way?
Insects love those.
I know.
Again, clean it. If you want to vacuum it, again with the hose covered. You can fold them up and store them the same way. They say not to do like the moth balls, and I don't know if there's something in that paper or not on textiles. I don't remember, but I do remember. I think there might be something in one of those books. Yeah, don't use the moth balls and that sort of thing. Store it and check for the insects and make sure they're not in there. You can hang them if you want to hang something. Don't use a wood hanger, but you can use the plastic hangers and have them padded so it's not causing a pull on the fabric. Out of direct sunlight. So, any other questions? If you have, Kay had brought this up early about family films. You can get those transferred now. There are companies that will transfer your 8mm films into DVDs or digital formats of some sort. The thing is try to keep ahead of the technology. As you're doing this, you can get it on a DVD, but how long is the DVD going to last? So always try to get your items ahead of time. If not, they do make cases. This is an audio reel that was sitting in an acid box. So I'm sure the reel itself is starting to deteriorate. So they actually sell the inert plastic boxes, and there's some of the film gives off gases, and there are little things you can put in these that will take care of those gases so they're not causing further damage on them. And then try to get them in their next format. So. This is one of our archival boxes that we have here. And we have larger folder formats, and they're large photographs, so I just stuck the acid-free paper between each photograph and stuck them in a large box. I mean, it's really simple to do that. And then, use your cotton gloves if you want to show the family the photographs. Any other questions? I know there's all kinds of stuff that I could. Oh, let's do our little trying to figure out how to take out paper clips and staples. Shall we do that? Okay. I can do that right here with this, and then you guys can go and test them out. On each little thing over here, I have these little plastic. I think I took one of these and cut it up. To take out a rusty old paper clip, or say the pin that was attaching all these things together, you take these little plastic pieces and you slide it underneath carefully. Some of these are really rusty, not these, but just slide it up underneath there as gently as you can so you're not shifting the paper clip. That's not the point at this time. So do that on one side and then do it on the other side. Make sure you at least get underneath that point, because that's usually what digs into your paper when you're trying to get, especially if it's old, brittle paper. So try to gently get those up to the end of your paper clip on each side. Then you can slip your paper clip right off without it digging into your paper. Simple little works. Okay, I didn't bring my little clamp things to dig out staples. Oh, don't use those because they just tear your paper totally apart. They're awful, especially, again, if you're using brittle. Everyday butter knife. This one's got a little bit of a jagged edge, but if you have one that has a smooth edge, it's better. But this is what we use. This is our professional tool back there, seriously. So just your little teeth of your staple, just gently pry it up on one side, pry the other side up, and if you have to hold it, do that. And usually I'm doing this on the flat surface, and it's easier when you're doing it on the flat surface. So gently pry up your other side, then go from the other side and get from underneath it and pull it out, versus trying to pull it out without doing that. I just tore big holes in the paper. So if you guys want to try that out, I've got little stations on either side of you. You can go ahead and do that. Are there any other questions? Yes?
Actually, with books and that kind of thing, boxing, is there any way to keep it from advancing or prevent it?
Keep your condition stable. 30 to 50% and 68 to... You can, they can professionally clean some of that stuff, but the foxing, basically, once it's there, it's there. But if it's the porous that can be wiped off, then you get as much of that off as you can. But yeah, that's what loses your value of a lot of items, is that foxing. Any other questions? Okay. Deb, could you press the little red button back there so I can, just the off? Thank you.